This morning, y'all, we're going to be in the book of Second Kings. It's going to be Second Kings chapter 4. Our Let's be thankful this morning for our Lord Jesus Christ and for God our Father. You know, we have a Father that provides for His children. He does not falter on providing for His children. Not only does He provide for our needs, He knows our needs even before we know our needs. In Matthew 6:8, Jesus says, "For your Father knoweth what things you have need of before you even ask." Also in Matthew 7, verses 9, 10, and 11, Jesus says, "Or what man is there of you whom, if his son ask bread, will he give a stone? Or if he ask a fish, will he give a serpent? If ye then, being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven give good things to them that ask him?" And that's true. You know, there's so much more our Father in heaven can provide for us that our earthly father, wouldn't have a chance of providing that. I got married a week after I got saved. At our wedding, my cousin gave us a study Bible, a big, nice study Bible. Okay. A couple of weeks later, Brother Bob, and at the wedding, Brother Bob gave us this Bible, the King James Holy Bible. A couple of weeks later, Brother Bob walks up to me and hands me a gigantic book called a Strong's Concordance. And he said, "This is for studying." It's what he told me. At that time, and I remember thinking, well, I didn't know I planned on doing any studying. Not with a book like that. That's a big book. It has every word in the Bible in it, and it explains exactly what they mean by that word in that verse. It's a great book, and it's probably $85, $90, I'm guessing. I don't know what the price is. Okay? Months later, Brother Brian is here. Brother Brian hands me another thick book, and it's a Bible background commentary for the New Testament. I don't even know what the title means. And he handed me that book, and he said, "You'll be needing this." Brother Bob had also put a note, and he gave it to me and Kim, and on part of that note, he had me a little spot, and he said, "You'll be needing these books." Okay? I looked around last night, and y'all, now I've got 5 different kind of Bibles. I got 2 different kind of study Bibles. I got that Strong's Concordance. I got a New Testament Bible commentary. I got 3 guidebooks for pastors. I got 12 miscellaneous books just for Christians in general. And I got numerous of adult Sunday school study books. And I got a big handbook that it says Handbook for Christian Living, written by Charles Stanley, a preacher that is way up in the ministry, been up in the ministry for years on television all the time. And y'all, out of all of that, I spent $8. I didn't know I was going to be preaching, but God did. The book started coming in before I ever even, thought preaching may be in my future. So that's proof to me. I'm a firm believer that God does provide us even those kind of needs. He knows me. I'm guessing that's $400 worth of books. That's not me. I don't go spend $400 on books. It's not that. He knew I wouldn't have the means, or he knew my hard-headedness would not let me go do that. So he provided them for me before I even knew I was going to need them. That's a true story. Every bit of that is, every line I've said about that is true. So it's not hard for me, to understand this lesson about how God will provide for us, because He will. We all know our basic needs is what we're promised from God our Father. Food, clothing, and shelter. But you will also get some of them wants. He don't promise us all of our wants, but I can name all kind of wants that I get, and I didn't even pray for them, and I still got them. It was just things I was thinking, well, I wanted a nice truck, but I didn't pray for a nice truck. I said I prayed for a dependable vehicle. My credit didn't get that truck. I know y'all have heard this stuff before, but I'm reminding those because it's just ways God has provided in my life. And when I talk about my own testimony that the Lord gives me, I know I'm telling the truth then. Okay? Let's go to 2 Kings chapter 4, please. And it's going to be verses 1 through 7. This is just one story out of many that's in the Bible about how God provided whatever was needed. God provides our essential needs. He provides some of the things that we just want. He provides, He can be the only one to provide you happiness and comfort in the times like Miss Linda's going through, when you have a family member that you are very seriously worried about. Only God can comfort you in things like that. After my dad passed away, a week later, we were sitting around the house talking, and I was kind of surprised that I hadn't broke down, seriously broke down. And me and Mama was sitting there talking, and I was talking to her about that, and I told her I was feeling a little bit guilty about that. I said, but I love Daddy as much as any man loves his daddy, but I haven't broke down all the way yet. And then as we was talking, I started realizing that the very prayer that everybody was praying for us, the reason I didn't break down is because God was answering everybody else's prayers. Whenever they would say, would you please comfort this family and just be with them, so they can get used to not having him there and everything. That was what was going on. God was answering their prayers. That's why I didn't break down, because He was comforting us. At the same time we was having that conversation, my brother in Texas called, and he said, what are y'all doing? And I said, we're talking about why we not broke down. And he started laughing. He said, I've been thinking the same thing this week. Why, how I kind of fell right on back into the life I was in and work and everything. And I stop and I think about Daddy and all, but it's not tearing me up like I thought it would. And then I told him, I said, I think me and Mama sit here and figured out that's God answering all them prayers is what it is. So He provides us with so many things. We seen on the internet last week, somebody had a good idea, and they would turn a black and white picture and then turn the coloring up on it. God provided us with the ability to see in color. A lot of animals, I don't know exactly all of them, but deer, when you go deer hunting, deer only see black and white. And when you change that picture, a beautiful picture, you change it from black and white to color, that's the extra that God gave us to be able to see in color. You can see the beauty of the world, of this earth that He's made. There's so many things that we never think about that God actually provided us with. And I didn't even begin to write down all of them because I figured that I wouldn't be able to think of enough of them, because there's so many. And there's so many different little things in your individual life that God provides for you. And a lot of us, sometimes we don't even notice it sometimes. And let's make sure that when we do notice it, let's tell Him thank you for it, okay? He don't have to do it. He does it because He loves us. Okay, let's go to 2 Kings, our story this morning. Chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. And this is back in the prophet that succeeded Elijah is Elisha. Elisha. And it says, now there cried a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophet unto Elisha, saying, thy servant my husband is dead, and thou knowest that thy servant did fear the Lord, And the creditors come to take unto him my 2 sons to be bondmen. A bondman is slaves, okay? And Elisha said unto her, what shall I do for thee? Tell me, what hast thou in the house? And she said, thine handmaid hath not anything in the house save a pot of oil. All she had was this pot of oil. Then he said, go borrow thee vessels abroad of all thy neighbors, even empty vessels, borrow not a few. And when thou art come in, thou shalt shut the door upon thee and upon thy sons, and shalt pour out into all those vessels, and thou shalt set aside that which is full. So she went from him and shut the door upon her and her sons, who brought the vessels to her, and she poured out. And it came to pass, when the vessels were full, that she said unto her son, bring me yet a vessel. And he said unto her, there is not a vessel more. And the oil stayed, or the oil ceased. Then she came and told the man of God, talking about Elisha, and he said, go sell the oil and pay thy debt, and live thou and thy children of the rest. A man serving under the prophet, there was groups of prophets back then, and there was usually like a head prophet. These other men would serve under this prophet, learning and everything. This lady's husband died, and she was serving under the prophet Elisha. And the widow comes, running to Elisha, telling him that, being my husband has died now, and he feared the Lord, and he loved you, and he, worked diligently in y'all's group of prophets. But everything's going bad now because I'm behind, I'm in debt, and there's a creditor. And according to the law at that time, people could sell themselves or their children in order to pay a debt off. You'd sell them over there and they'd be a slave for so many years, and then you'd get them back in order to pay a debt off. This creditor was coming to try and force this widow to give up her sons, maybe even give up her own freedom to come over to his house and work that debt off. Okay? In Deuteronomy 15, 1 through 18, there's some, God talks about this. God orders rich people and creditors not to take advantage of people in their time of need like this. But this man is only concerned with the man's law and not God's law. Okay? And then verses 1 through 18 in Deuteronomy 15, God is not explaining the law, he's explaining how they should treat that law, not to take advantage of people and everything. Okay, so Elisha sees that she's really upset, and this is a serious matter, because it sounds like the man is already on his way, the creditor. And Elisha asked her, he said, what do you have in the house? As if, what do you have that's worth any money? Maybe we can sell it, be enough to satisfy him, and he can go away and come back next month or something, collect some more money, instead of trying to take your only 2 sons. And because the widow's not going to make it very well back in them times and that place without sons and daughters to help her. Let me take most out. A lot of widows wound up going into prostitution and stuff because they couldn't provide for themselves. We had prostitution back then also. People would buy, just like a lot of our girls get mixed up in this stuff. People would buy them, and they would be prostitutes, just like you see downtown New York, downtown Chicago, probably downtown Jackson. Okay? So this whole matter is serious. And